We have an incredibly powerful built-in tool that we can use to shape our lives in any way that we want. This tool is the subconscious mind, and in this video, I am going to show you how to use its full power to your advantage. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of how the subconscious mind determines your experiences, and I'm also going to share with you my 3-step process that I use myself to shape my life in the way that I want. So let's look at defining the subconscious mind. There is an iceberg analogy that has been around forever, and I really like to use that analogy because to me it really explains the relationship between the conscious and the subconscious mind. So it goes like this. Imagine that your mind is an iceberg. Now, we all know what an iceberg looks like. You have a small piece out top, and then you have a very big piece hidden underneath the water. And the mind looks like that. So our conscious mind makes up the 5%, the tip of the iceberg. And underneath the water level, we have 95% of subconsciousness. What is important for you to understand is that your conscious awareness only is 5% of your total experience. So 95% of your experience and your processes happens underneath the surface of the water. So it's below your awareness. Now, obviously the things that are driving this awareness is what determines how you experience your world. And if you can find a way to calibrate and condition and change what is underneath the surface, underneath the awareness on your terms, if you can find a way to do it on purpose, you will find that whatever happens in your conscious awareness, in this 5%, will change as a result. My definition that I like to use for the subconscious mind is that it is that part of us that is underneath or below our awareness, which influences us and provides suggestions which determines our experiences. Right? So it's that part that is below our awareness that provides us with suggestions and that determines our experiences. So now in part 2, I'm going to take you through a diagram that I've created that is really going to show you how this then works in reality, how it works practically. Everything that we experience in our life gets filtered through a story that we tell ourselves. So we tell ourselves stories about everything, and those stories can also be called perception. We have a perception about certain cultural things. We have a perception about money. We have a perception about other people. We have a perception about how we are being treated. We have a perception about how other people treat other people. So really this story that we tell ourselves about things and experiences is going to determine how we experience that experience or event. All right, now where do these stories come from? And this is the interesting thing. These stories come from our thoughts. So they come from what we think when we have a dominant thought that turns into a story, and it comes from our feelings. Now your feelings is often as a result of your thoughts. If you think something enough, you can start feeling whatever emotion that thought is driving. But the feeling also has a feedback loop. So when you feel something enough, then you start thinking that this is the true feeling. So these two are always in relation to each other, your thoughts and your feelings. And these thoughts and feelings are what feeds the stories. They start building neural pathways in your brain, the filter through which you observe the world. Now, what happens with these stories is we believe them to be true. So we engage with them, we engage with them, and we never ever, or rather we hardly ever question them. So we believe them to be true. And it's going to be very difficult for anybody to change your story, right? It has to be an internal thing. We can only change our stories ourselves. It doesn't matter how much somebody tells you something. If you, at your core, believe that it's true through these neural pathways that you have created, then no one is going to change that for you. But these stories that we tell ourselves, that we engage with, and that become our belief systems, they always have a consequence. All right? So it leads into a consequence, and the consequence is always going to lead to action or inaction. All right? You are always making choices, either consciously or unconsciously, and taking action or not taking action based on the level of engagement and the level of belief. So the consequence can show up where you are, for example, someone who sees a lot of injustice. You are someone who blames others for your condition or situation. It can be, the consequence can be, you are someone who sees opportunity in everything, and no matter what happens, you always land on your feet, and you always find a way out, and you always find a way to get up top. So the consequence typically is that we have these patterns that continue to show up in our life. We have these patterns that we always fall into. All right, and this is specifically if these are patterns that are not supporting you in your growth, and patterns that aren't helping you transform or up-leveling your life, right? Those are the patterns that I'm talking about that we want to change. Okay, part of why this works is because we have something called the reticular activating system, which I've spoken about in the video, which I'll link below. And your reticular activating system is always going to show you the data that supports what you are thinking, because it's programmed to do that. And this reinforces your thoughts and feelings. And what it also does is it reinforces the stories that you tell yourself. So if we want to reprogram the subconscious mind, if we want to hack our brain, it's something that we can do because of this functionality, because we have a reticular activating system, because the stories that we tell ourselves through our thoughts and our feelings can become stories that we want to create consciously. We can change the things that we believe, we can change our belief systems by changing the thoughts and changing the feelings. And that's a conscious act. We do that with a 5% that is above our awareness. We do this intentionally, and then it becomes subconscious. We become competent in this new habit of thinking or feeling a certain way. And I want to share with you now my 3-step process that I use myself to change and shift anything in my life when I notice that there's something that I want to change and I want to transform it. Now, it's important that you follow these 3 steps in order. All right, you have to do one after the other because that is how it works, and they build on each other. You can't do the second one without having the first one in place. So let me take you through the steps. Step number 1 is awareness. You have to have awareness. And it sounds quite obvious when I say it like that, but we need to have the awareness to notice what it is that we want to change. This is what it means to wake up. This is what it means to start living with intention and living on purpose, is you have the awareness of any patterns that you want to change, any behaviors that you want to change, or any perceptions that you know are limiting you. So when you have this awareness, you can now begin to change it. But there's a second step before the change happens, step number 2. And that is to commit. Commitment is step number 2. Commitment means that you are committing to taking responsibility for your thoughts and your feelings from now on. And now step number 3 is where you take action. All right, you cannot change anything in your life. You cannot change anything in your experience simply by being wistfully thinking about it or for wanting it to happen. All right, wanting something and desiring something is not enough to actually change it. You need to take action. All right, that's key. So step number 3 is we take action. And you take action in the following way. The first thing that you take action on is you take action on your thoughts. And basically how it works is you start to think as the person who you want to be. So if you've identified in step 1, and this is why it's so important to put these in order or do these in order. When you've identified in step 1, you've created the awareness about what story it is that you want to change, and you are ready to commit to becoming a different story. Now in step 3, you're taking action by thinking the same thoughts that someone who is already who you want to be would think like. So for example, if there is something at work that you want to do and you want to maybe speak up more, instead of having the argument with yourself or procrastinating or holding back when you're sitting in a meeting and worrying about what other people will think and what other people will say and that they maybe won't listen to you, now when you are in that meeting, as soon as you realize that you are having this inner conflict again, you create a new thought saying, I am someone who speaks up. I speak up with confidence. And then you behave like that person who you want to be. And you can literally do this with every thought in your life. So anything that you want to change, you monitor your thoughts, you monitor your thinking. The moment that you realize that you are thinking a thought which is reinforcing the old story that you have, you start thinking a new thought in its place. The second part to taking action is by changing the movies that you play in your mind. Now, we are constantly thinking about different scenarios, and we are constantly projecting or fantasizing how things might turn out. That leads us to being worried. That can also lead us to being confident, depending on what the image is that you are feeding yourself. Think about it. Where in your life do you have some patterns that you are stuck in, or some situations that don't work for you, and you are making these movies in your mind where you're playing out the scenario and you're imagining what will happen then, and what this one will say, and what that one will say, and what you're going to do, and you imagine how you're going to feel, and you're building this soap opera in your mind, which is only serving to keeping you stuck in the situation that you're in. So part of how we reprogram our subconscious minds is by recognizing, as soon as you see that movie is playing, you stop it and you rewrite the script. You literally change the way that it plays out, or you decide to just switch it off, you replace it with something else, but you take conscious control of your brain that's busy running away with you, of your mind that's busy running away with some scenario. And then the third thing that you can do that's going to help you reprogram your subconscious mind is EFT tapping. Now, I've made many videos about EFT tapping. You know, if you follow me, that I'm a big believer in the power of EFT to help you shift your experiences and shift your vibration, shift everything about your life that no longer serves you. I'm also going to put some videos for you down in the description so you can take a look at those, and that will also support you to really complete what I'm teaching in this video. Alrighty, so just to recap, our conscious awareness is only about 5%. So only 5% of what we experience is in our conscious awareness. So many other things, our perception, the suggestions that we get, the way that we relate to the world, is an unconscious act. It falls below our awareness. And our thoughts and our feelings create the stories that we tell to ourselves, and the level at which we engage and believe in these determines how we show up in the world. It determines the things that happen to us. It determines the opportunities that show up in our lives. And if opportunities are there, it determines whether we take these opportunities or not. And when we then decide to take conscious control of this, this is how we begin to hack our subconscious mind. This is how we take ownership of our lives, and we really determine how we want to live and who we want to be in that life. Now I'd love to hear from you, so let me know in the comments below if you found this video helpful. Let me know any patterns that you've identified or that you know about now that you are committing to change using the formula and the 3-step process that I've shared with you. And if you enjoyed this video about hacking your subconscious mind, also let me know by giving it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Share this video with someone who will find it helpful. And then thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.